So, good day everyone. We are the Study Hub 3, and I am Via Jewel B. Gregorio, and I'll be answering the number 1, which is define language and learning according to different authorities. As we begin, a language is a system of arbitrary vocal symbols by means of which social group cooperates by block and trigger, and the most important definition presented by Chomsky, which said there that a language is a set, finite or infinite, of sentences, each finite in length and constructed out of it a finite set of elements. So language is a purely human and non-instinctive method of communicating ideas, emotions, and desires by means of a system of voluntarily produced symbols. Also, language learning is an active process that begins at birth and continues throughout life. Students learn language as they use it to communicate their thoughts, feelings, and experiences, establish relationship with family members and friends, and strive to make sense and order of their world.
So hi everyone! So let's discuss how one's understanding of language determines how one teaches it. So one's comprehension of language significantly shapes their teaching approach. It influences teaching philosophy, communication, cultural sensitivity, methods, linguistic knowledge, adaptability, and motivation. So, these factors collectively determine a teacher's effectiveness in conveying language concepts and connecting with students. Share their insight on how one's understanding of the way a learner learns determine one's philosophy of education, teaching style, approach, methods, and classroom techniques. One's philosophy of education is deeply influenced by their understanding of how learners learn. So, this perspective shapes teaching style, methods, and classroom techniques. For example, believing in student-centered learning might lead to a more hands-on approach, while valuing rote memorization could result in traditional lecturing methods. Ultimately, the learners need guide educational practices. So once again, I'm Sherza Emanuddin from Study Hub Group 3.
So good day everyone. Today I will going to discuss about the nature of language and learning. So what is language? So when we say language, it is a vital part of human connection. So although all species have their way of communicating, humans are the only ones that have mastered cognitive language communication. So language, it allows us to share our ideas, thoughts, and feelings with others. So it has the power to build societies, but also tear them down. It may seem obvious, but if you're asking yourself why language is important, so language is important because it's what makes us human. It is how people communicate with each other, of course. So by learning a language, it means you have mastered a complex system of words, structures, and grammar to effectively communicate with others. So the nature of language is important, of course, for personal communication. So though much of human communication is nonverbal, we can demonstrate our thoughts, feelings, and ideas by our gestures, expressions, tones, and emotions. So language is important for personal communication. Whether it is being able to talk with your friends, your partner, or your family, having a shared language is necessary for these types of interaction. So language learning shared a responsibility. So all students can be successful learners. Responsibility for language learning is shared by students, parents, teachers, and the community. Students acquire ongoing opportunities to use language in its many forms. opportunities to learn language occur first at home. And are extended as children move into the larger community. So schools provide environments where students continue to develop language knowledge, skills, and strategies to achieve personal, social, and academic goals. So language teaching refers to a process whereby child gains communicative comprehension or fluency over a language. So it involves learners where facilitation is provided by a teacher.
Good day everyone, I am Danica Nasara. So what is language? According to study.com, while most people use language every day, it can be a tricky concept to define accurately. Essentially, language is a term for any complex communication system used by humans that consists of words, phrases that when combined can create infinite variable utterances. How humans initially developed language is not wholly clear and is something that linguists are still researching. Most humans learn at least one language in early childhood. If a person lacks exposure to language as a young child, they will never be able to fluently learn a language as an adult because of how human brain development works. The next one is the definition of learning multilingualism world Englishes, an overview of the ways in which English has existed within a framework of multilingualism in all countries where it is spoken. The first part considers English beyond the shores of Britain. It was initially introduced to context in which indigenous population and their languages already existed, such as America, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Later, as English was introduced to countries in Africa and Asia that were colonized by the British, such as Nigeria and India, it added to the multilingual patterns that already existed in those places. English has continued to rise in importance in countries that have no links to a colonial history or where it has no official function. This is often linked to process of globalization in the 20th and 21st centuries. In these countries, English is often part of individuals' multilingual repertoire. The chapter finally returns to Britain, where the myth of English monolingualism probably persists the most. Both historical and modern-day multilingualism are discussed, and a case study is presented to demonstrate how multilingualism has impacted on the English variety spoken in London today.
Good day everyone, I am Siti Aiza Ibalati and I am going to discuss about the Katshiro's concentric circle. So Brad Katshiru was a professor of linguistics who coined the term World English. So the World English refers to the fact that the English language has been used as a global means of communication in numerous dialects worldwide. So it also refers to the movement towards an international standard of the English language. Katshiru constructed a model of the different uses of English around the world. So this model is comprised the three concentric circles, which he labeled the inner circle, the outer circle, and the expanding circle. So the inner circle is comprised of those countries who are considered the traditional basis of English, such as the UK, United Kingdom, USA, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, and Anglophone Canada. English in these countries are classed as the first language. Katshiru labels the inner circle countries as the norm providing. The norms of the English language are produced there. The outer circle is comprised of countries where English is not spoken natively but still maintained as an important language of communication, as an official second language, or as the nation's official language for business and commerce. Largely due to the historical reasons, these countries include the India, Nigeria, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Malaysia, Tanzania, non-Anglophone, South Africa, and Canada. Culture labels these countries as norm developing. The norms produced by the inner circle are further developed and reproduced in the outer circle. The expanding circle. The expanding circle includes much of the rest of the world's population, countries that do not hold historical or governmental importance towards English, but class it as a foreign language or lingua franca. These are the countries that include in expanding circle: Europe, China, Russia, Japan, Korea, Egypt, and Indonesia. These countries are norm dependent. They fully depend on the norms originally produced by the native speakers of the inner circle. They generally do not develop or produce Englishes. Now let's move to the Philippine English. Philippine English, it refers to the variety of English used in the Philippines. It is considered one of the official language of the country along with Filipino. So, Philippine English has evolved over time, incorporating influence from various languages and cultures. The language is known for its unique vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. It is commonly spoken and understood by the majority of the Filipinos, particularly in urban areas and among educated individuals. One of the characteristics of Philippine English is the use of Filipino expressions and idioms, which can add a local flavor to the language. Code switching or mixing English with other Philippine language such as Tagalog or Cebuano is also common in everyday conversation. So, Philippine English may have some difference in grammar and pronunciation compared to other varieties of English. For example, Filipino speakers tend to use the present progressive tense more frequently and may have a distinct accent. So, Philippine English serves as a bridge between the local language of the Philippines.